that's where we came from. I keep my boys humble. Like, my boys have never had a pair of Jordans.
Yeah.
You know, my boys don't do all that internet fly shit.
Yeah.
I'm like, your kids. And no, I don't give a f. I could be the biggest star in the world. Do not let me catch you being stupid.
No, yeah. He's absolutely right here. Like, there's just been this growing rise of decadence and materialism that's just, I haven't seen it before in my lifetime. When I was a kid, you had, like, Coogee. If you were getting crazy, you had Ed Hardy. And for shoes, you might have had, like, Bathing Apes. That's a $100 pair of shoes. Now people are talking about Gucci shoes. I didn't even know that Gucci made shoes. People are bringing up these brands, and they're getting more and more popular, these brands, these French, Italian brands that have been around for decades, but I had never heard of them because that's out of my tax bracket. Now you got people that are poor talking about these expensive brands more than ever that we didn't even know existed when I was a kid. Peak materialism when I was a kid was when Chief Keef was on his rides in 2013. That was the year I graduated. It was cool to have like a Gucci belt or a Fendi belt. That was a cool thing. That's when the brand started to really make their rise. Now people be talking about having full Gucci outfits, and I'm like, what are you doing? And I think it's a net negative for people because I've seen how far into debt people are willing to go to make themselves look like they're important. I've seen it happen to people. And as a kid, at 9 years old, especially as a boy, you don't need to worry about being pretty and keeping your Jordans clean. You need to be worrying about Pokemon and getting dirty. You should be trying to be Goku at 9 years old as a boy, not worrying about keeping your Jordans clean.
Do not. And my oldest gets it. My 15-year-old, he tells the other ones, he's like, yo, don't make dad mad. Because once you get one that's right, he gonna straighten the other ones out. Mm-hmm. So it's just that thing of, you know, in the past 20 years, we've been living through the death of the American male.
Yeah.
They have literally killed masculinity in our homes and our communities.
Yep.
For one reason or another. But
it's because when masculinity is out of the way, it's easier to conquer the world. Masculinity is the only thing that stops power from going unchecked. It's the only thing that checks power is masculinity.
Raise my boys to be young men. And however you feel about that, you feel about that. Right. But my boys will always be respectful. They will always say, yes, sir, yes, ma'am. No, sir, no, ma'am. They will always say thank you.
That was
They will
important,
always open the door for a lady. They will always make sure that their mother is taken care and provided for. Yep. They will always be men. And that's always since they were.
Sorry, just to clarify my point that I just made, there have always been kings and conquerors that have wanted to conquer the world. Some people would just build armies and go north and kill everybody in that direction just because they wanted to conquer. That's always been a thing. From Stalin to Hitler to Mao to Genghis Khan. Throughout history, that's always been a thing, and those people still exist. They just own businesses now. So, yeah, to conquer the world, you need to kill masculinity. It's good to not have masculinity in your way. That was the point I was trying to make.
2 years old. Every time I left for a job, I tell my 15-year-old, you the man of the house. You make sure these doors are locked every night, this alarm is on, you text me or you call me every night before you go to bed and you wake up.
I love that.
Because we're men. If I'm not there to protect, he got to be there to protect. Because you can have all the money in the world, motherfucker climb through the window, that money means nothing.
Yep.
You can have all the celebrity in the world, motherfucker jump through the door, that celebrity means nothing. Yeah. So you got to have a little guard in there, you know? And so for me,
that's why I always tell dudes that you should take up some martial art. Even if you don't want to go too far into it or take on fights, you should always take on some martial art because violence is the underlying principle of nature, and it gives you a better understanding of violence. And even if you're not like the best fighter in the world, you feel more confident walking through the world knowing that you have the ability to, at least to some degree, protect yourself. That's why I always recommend dudes take on some level of martial arts of some sort, if you can.
Always that idea of American masculinity is very different. You feel it when you go to Europe. Like you see these and you're like, could bust your ass, boy. You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? You go to Europe.
Tight ass pants.
Yeah, tight ass pants. Motherfucker, what's good, boy? You better lotion your ankle. Like you feel it when you go to Europe. Even when you, like, I was just in Kenya and I was walking around, I'm like, yeah. Dude was like, you ain't from here. Like, nah. Like, yeah, I could tell. I know you can. I could tell I ain't from here. You know what I mean? It's just that American male masculinity is something.
It's funny because I've actually been I've been to England and I've been to Scotland before, and I also go to Kenya every year for about a month out of the year. And what he's saying is absolutely right. One thing you also notice too is that being bulky and buff is not very common everywhere else in the world. Most people, you don't see a lot of buff workoutaholics in other places in the world like you do in the U.S. You can walk down the street and see a buff guy. It's not as common in other places in the world.
I think it's very important for boys because now our little boys are afraid to fail, so they don't try. You know what I mean? When we were kids, we did tackle drills. We would run face first into each other.
We just talked about it. Dudes don't even talk to a woman face to face.
They don't know how no more because, women they are so mean and so angry, bruh. I saw this. My nephew was talking to this girl. Oh my God, dude, she just killed him. I mean, he was like, "Excuse me, how you doing?" She goes, "Ugh." How do you come back from that? He just walked over to me. I gave him his beer. I was like, there you go, bro.
Yeah, man, it's kind of messed up, though, because it's just they don't respect the game. It's like some ladies, because they dove into that feminism type of mindset, they're relentless against men because of they believe that men have been relentless against women in the past, so it justifies them being mean to men in the present. And so guys will try to approach them and try to get them compliments, and they'll write them off and be disrespectful. I'm like, man, you got to respect the game. You got to understand as a man, it's hard to muster up the courage to go start a conversation, walk across the room and start a conversation with a random stranger. It's a hard thing to do, and it's a very particular set of skill, if you get what I'm saying. And there's a lot of women that don't even respect the game. They want all of the attention that come with men walking up to them and approaching them, but yet you want to be disrespectful. At least appreciate the brother's efforts and don't be disrespectful. You ain't got to say, that's kind of messed up.
That didn't happen. Let's start over.
You win some, you lose some. I agree with them in the segment for the most part. I do think that masculinity is under attack. I think the reason for the attack, though, is because it's easier to conquer the world when masculinity is out of the way. So just get the masculine men out of the way, and you'll really have nobody to fight back when you want to do the conquering. But so I agree with everything he's saying, but shortly after he gave his rant on the attack of masculinity, later on in the interview, they brought up the fact that he kissed a man. So let's get into it.
Because so much stuff has changed in Hollywood that you don't really see that anymore. But in the early 2000s, it was like character breakdown, white male, Tom Cruise type, white shoes, white speech, clear and white teeth, white. But now they don't really do that anymore. But there's been, a lot of movies that were written for white actors that, like I said, once I took the meeting with the director, all this shit, I've done 100 movies, I can act. Now it's about if we get along. Because I ain't showing up to work every day if you annoying the fuck out of me. I'd rather just not do the movie because I'm gonna slap the shit out you.
Yeah, he making good money. You turning down movie roles because you upset at your coworkers? When I was working at Pizza Hut, I had coworkers I didn't like either. But I still had to go get that money from Pizza Hut. You privileged when you could just choose to not take the job because you don't like your coworkers. You in a good spot.
You really had to Google me, bro. Standard, like, don't nigga Google me. Don't, you know what I'm saying? Like you're at that. But all the roles you do, what was the hardest? Cause like we've had other actors on, and I'm like to challenge that. I think I'm sneaking on brother to brother.
Perry? Perry?
Cause you kissed a man. Like now I've heard you say in the past, like some people told you that would kill your career to be gay. Like just channeling those roles, but just getting in that mind frame, that mindset of doing roles that really ain't you.
Right.
You were married, got 4 sons, but now you kissing a man, like channeling that. You kissed a man.
He's different.
He. I was worried about that.
Hey, I was worried about him because he ain't had no facial hair, and I don't really feel like you can trust a black man with no facial hair.
You know what's interesting is at the beginning of this, he talked about how progressive Hollywood is and how far along it's come in terms of becoming more progressive. And I've always just found it weird that you'll see some female actresses complaining about how much they get paid and their gender wage gap. But they're in like one of the most progressive industries in the world, and that is Hollywood, and they're multimillionaires. And you're like, at what point will you ever be happy in your life? You get paid tens of millions of dollars in a privileged country like America to act in movies. I don't think you're the one that should be talking about privilege here. But yeah, I just always thought that was very interesting that you're in one of the most privileged institutions in the world, or one of the most progressive institutions in the world, in one of the most privileged spots, in one of the most privileged careers in the world, getting paid more than most people in the world, still talking about how, you know, you're oppressed or there's unequal pay or whatever it may be. It's funny to me.
I grew that shit right back.
At least that little thin one. At least
Hey, I don't like that, though.
So my first job when I was at Juilliard, there was this guy named Michael Wynn. He was a writer. And we workshopped and did a play about Tupac called Up Against the Wind. So I've played Tupac 3 times. On stage, off Broadway, and in the movie, right? So the interesting thing was Michael Wynn wrote this play called Up Against the Wind. We did it at school. This guy, Rodney Evans, came to see it. He was doing this movie. He wanted me to play Perry's best friend, who was the poet. And I was like, nah, Perry's the best role. Like, I don't give a that he gay. Like, it's the best role. He's like, well, you can't play gay. I said, why? He's like, because you're not gay. I was like, that's the dumbest shit I've ever heard. I'm an actor. We acted, right? So after a lot of back and forth, he gave me the role, mostly because he couldn't find anybody else who can act. So, so got the role, did the movie, finished the movie, went off to do 8 Mile. So that was literally my first movie. Damn. But I did it for a specific reason. Growing up in the South in the 90s and 80s, you grow up homophobic, sexist, and racist. Like we talking about the 80s and the 90s. That's just a fact. You know what I mean? So when I got to school, my roommate was gay. Like, I didn't know how to deal with that. Like, my brother's gay.
Yeah, he's not helping the allegations here. He's talking about his roommates, his brother, everybody around him. You're not beating the allegations right now, brother.
Deal with that. So being a man, I use my art to better myself. I played Perry so that I could understand my brother better. So I could understand my friends better. Going to art school, a bunch of my friends were gay.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, when I was a kid, we had a record label. We had the first gay rapper.
But see, I got a brother, too. And when I want to get to know more about my brother or understand my brother more, we get on his pontoon and go on the Mississippi River and have a couple brewskis. I'm not getting the correlation here between kissing a man and understanding your brother because he gay. I don't need to go that far to understand no other person in the world. I don't know what it is. I think that's a part of masculinity, though, just having unwavering boundaries, right? And that's just one of my boundaries right there. I'm not crossing that boundary for nobody. I don't care if it means to understand somebody. I don't care if somebody holding me at knife point. You better be willing to die for it, because I certainly am. It ain't gonna go as smooth as you think it is. There's no way. I don't understand the correlation here, but we can keep going and see what he say.
You make good music, nobody care. You know, Big Frida is famous.
Here, for sure.
For sure. You know what I mean? So the idea of being gay in New Orleans has always not only been supported, but it's been a part of the culture.
Oh, that's a contradiction, brother. He literally just started this whole segment off by saying growing up in the 80s and the 90s, everybody was homophobic and racist and blah, blah, blah. But now he's saying it's always been accepted. It was early in your career and you needed the job. That's what it sounds like to me, brother. And I don't care about what the job is, what the title is, or how much they paying for the job. That's a line I'm not willing to cross, me personally.
I needed to figure out what was my holdup, what was my insecurity about that. And once I played that role, I realized everybody deserves to be loved.
Oh, man.
It's not my job to say who you love or who should love you. If you loved, I'm happy for you. That don't mean I'm gay. You know, so Perry was more so a statement piece for me with the love and admiration for my brother, with the appreciation and respect of my friends for that culture. It really put me in a position where I think it made me a better actor.
You know how you show appreciation for the culture? Let a gay man play the gay man role. Ain't that what people be saying? If it's a black role, you want the black person to play the black people role. If it's a marginalized group, you want them to fill in the spots for those roles, right? If you want to celebrate the gay community, you go let them play in the movie and be gay in the movie, brother. You ain't that don't sound like it's adding up to me.
Because I had to go so far out the box. I had to go to the furthest spectrum away from myself to play.
It's funny because I actually agree with pretty much everything that he was saying, especially on the masculinity part. Now, on the back end, when they challenged him a little bit and said, well, you're a part of the problem a little bit because you out here playing LGBTQ roles and you supposed to be Captain America. It don't look good on the old resume. I completely understand what they're saying. Me personally, I think masculinity is about having unwavering boundaries for things that you're willing to do and things you're not willing to do. And that's just something that I personally wouldn't be willing to do. I don't know where his boundaries lie. I'm not an actor, and I can't relate to that situation at all. If I want to get to know my brother, we go have brewskis. I'm not finna have to kiss no man to understand nobody else's circumstance. I have LGBTQ people in my family. You will not be seeing me go kiss no other man to understand their circumstances. That's just not how I live my life. But yeah, I'm happy that they called him out on the contradiction to talk about masculinity and then bring up that point too. I think it shows consistency on their platform, and I think it was an enjoyable conversation. He may have articulated it in a way where it makes sense to him, but to me it just sounds like you're justifying something that you did when you was in a desperate time and you wanted the role as an actor. Sound like that was your first movie. You hadn't had a movie yet. It was the best role that you could go for, and you was willing to do anything to get that role. That's what it sounded like to me. But that might have been 20 years ago. A long time ago, you turned into a whole totally different person. But it seemed like it was a little bit compromising in my opinion. But yeah, I agree with him on the masculinity thing. Just don't agree with what he did on the back end. Make sure you guys become a member of the Poor Man Militia. Join the Patreon. I just dropped a video today talking about a side hustle that I did to make $1,200 per week. This is before drop shipping was even considered a thing. It doesn't really have anything to do with drop shipping, but I seen somebody say that in the comments. I'll leave a link in the pinned comments and a description below to hit the Patreon. Become a member of the Poor Man Militia, guys. Thank you for sticking with me. Till next time.